Shit! Stop! Michael!
The movie begins with Patricia, a married woman, going about her daily routine in the kitchen, preparing food as if it were any other ordinary day. Her husband, David, suddenly bursts into the kitchen, visibly anxious, and urgently tells her to run away. Patricia, taken aback by his behavior, stares at him in shock. Without any warning, David's demeanor changes dramatically. He becomes aggressive, attacking Patricia in a fit of violence. Patricia's attempts to escape are tragically cut short when David, speaking in a cryptic manner, claims, "It's not me," before stabbing her multiple times, ultimately ending her life. Nearby, the camera reveals a young child locked in a small, cage-like room. The story then shifts to the present day, where Michal, now a college student, is trying to live a semblance of a normal life despite the horrors of her past. She shares a dorm room with her best friend, Charlie. As the movie picks up, the two are listening to a popular podcast recounting the grim tale of Michal's father. The podcast stirs up painful memories for Michal. Charlie, on the other hand, finds the story morbidly fascinating. At college, Michal and Charlie often spend time with their small group of friends: Joe, a diligent medical student, Glenn, a confident and boisterous gym enthusiast, and Danny, Michal's caring and supportive boyfriend. As days pass, Charlie becomes increasingly fixated on the mystery surrounding the Puppetman killer. She secretly starts investigating whether Michal could have inherited any of her father's alleged tendencies. Meanwhile, Michal begins experiencing troubling episodes. She is plagued by recurring nightmares from her childhood, 3 strange cryptic lines on the wall with her injured hand, which she often scratches out of anxiety. The symbol she draws matches one she frequently sees in her dreams, deepening her unease. Michal also starts noticing strange occurrences around her. She is constantly followed by flocks of black ravens, which she interprets as an ominous sign of impending doom. One day, while at a liquor store, the group successfully buys alcohol, despite being underage. Later, Danny walks Michal back to her dorm room, but declines to come inside, leaving her alone. Once inside, Michal notices messages appearing on Charlie's laptop. Curiosity gets the better of her, and she discovers a folder containing videos of herself sleepwalking, all secretly recorded by Charlie. Shocked and hurt, Michal watches several clips, realizing Charlie has been documenting her nighttime activities without her knowledge. When Charlie returns, she finds Michal at her laptop. Confronted, Charlie defends her actions, claiming she recorded the videos to ensure Michal's safety and had kept them private. Despite Charlie's justification, Michal feels deeply betrayed by her best friend's actions. The tension between the friends escalates at the rooftop party. What starts as a fun gathering filled with laughter and storytelling takes a dark turn. Glenn, drunk and uninhibited, begins teasing Michal about her father and her sleepwalking episodes. Realizing that Charlie must have shared her private struggles, Michal becomes furious. Though Charlie denies revealing anything, Michal's trust in her wavers. Suddenly, Charlie freezes, claiming she cannot move, as though an invisible force is holding her in place. The group initially thinks she is playing a prank, but their skepticism quickly turns to horror. Unable to stop herself, she falls off, dying instantly upon impact. In the aftermath, Michal speaks with the police and describes the terror she saw in Charlie's eyes before her death, a terror that seemed directed at Michal herself. Shaken, Michal returns to her dorm, where she once again notices the ominous ravens following her. That night, she is jolted awake by the sound of ravens crashing against her window, filling her with dread.
Stop!
Elsewhere, worried about Michal's safety, Danny visits her dorm to check on her. Though Michal ignores his knocks, Danny decides to stay outside her door, eventually falling asleep. In the middle of the night, he wakes up to a loud noise and finds the door ajar. Realizing Michal is missing, he rushes to the rooftop and finds her standing dangerously close to the edge, clearly sleepwalking. Danny manages to pull her back just in time, saving her from potential harm. Seeking answers, the group contacts Charlie's mother, who reveals that Charlie had been secretly meeting with a psychic named Ruby. Out of fear, desperate to understand what is happening, the friends visit Ruby's home. While waiting in the living room, Michal notices a book titled The Cult of Dolos, which features the same eerie symbol she has been seeing and drawing in her sleepwalks. The story continues with Michal and her friends seeking answers about the mysterious and tragic events surrounding them. Desperate for clarity, they approach Ruby, the psychic, to conduct a seance in hopes of contacting Michal's deceased mother, Patricia. The group believes Patricia's spirit might hold the key to understanding Charlie's shocking death. During the possession, she scribbles a chilling message, "I killed Charlie." The group is stunned, and Michal, horrified, demands to know the identity of the spirit. Ruby grows increasingly terrified as she is possessed once again, and writes another message, "I am Michal." The revelation leaves Michal shaken, struggling to believe she could have been responsible for her best friend's death, even unintentionally. Among the group, only Danny takes Ruby's claims seriously, standing by Michal despite the accusations. The tension deepens when Joe discovers a disturbing connection on Charlie's laptop, the presence of a book titled The Cult of Dolos. Around this time, Michal's sleepwalking episodes become more frequent and unsettling. Her friends witness her strange behavior from a distance and begin to realize that something genuinely unnatural is happening. Intrigued and frightened, Joe, who had initially been skeptical, visits Ruby secretly to borrow the enigmatic book. Ruby warns her to keep it hidden from Michal, fearing the consequences. Unable to reach Danny and Glenn for support, Joe decides to investigate the book alone. She ventures to a quiet library late at night and begins reading its chilling contents. The book describes a ritual meant to summon a malevolent entity into the world, requiring a union of opposites such as light and darkness or innocence and sin. It warns that those who oppose the entity will lose control over their actions, becoming its pawns. Joe is deeply unsettled by what she reads and attempts to call Ruby for guidance. However, before she can act, the malevolent force described in the book takes control of her. Just then, Joe loses all agency. In a horrifying sequence, the cigarette she had been holding falls onto the book, igniting it. The flames quickly spread and Joe's face is pulled into the fire, resulting in her gruesome burning death. At the same time, Glenn meets a similarly tragic fate at the gym. While working out, the entity takes control of his body, forcing him to add an unsafe amount of weight to his lifting bar, crushing his face in a horrific accident. In the meantime, Danny decides to take Michal to visit her father in prison, unaware of the tragedies befalling their friends. The reunion between Michal and her father is tense and filled with unanswered questions. Michal confronts him, demanding to know why he killed her mother. Her father further explains that the entity's actions mirror Michal's emotions. When she feels anger or despair, the malevolent force responds with violence. On the way back to their dorm, Danny tries to console Michal, but an invisible force prevents him from even touching her. He then receives a devastating call from the police, informing him of Joe and Glenn's deaths. Falling into a deep depression, Michal contemplates ending her life. One day, she attempts to walk into traffic, but the cars mysteriously stop. Desperate, she climbs onto a bridge, intending to jump. However, the entity inside her intervenes, throwing her back onto the bridge and preventing her from taking her life. Seeing her suffering, Danny contacts Ruby once more, begging for help. However, Ruby, now terrified of the entity's power, refuses to assist them. Ruby, racked with guilt, contacts Detective Al, explaining the dire situation. Meanwhile, as Danny and Michal drive back to the dorm, the entity takes control of Danny's body. Under its influence, he breaks his own fingers and slams his head against the steering wheel. Devastated, Michal goes to the police station and confesses to multiple murders. She pleads with an officer to shoot her, but the entity takes over his body, forcing him to kill himself instead. More officers arrive, but they too fall victim to the entity. Soon enough, Detective Al manages to subdue Michal with a tranquilizer and takes her to Ruby's home. Ruby deduces that sedating Michal weakens the entity temporarily. The detective suggests killing Michal to end the nightmare, but Ruby warns that Dolos might retaliate even in death. In desperation, Michal writes down a plan. She recalls her father's wish to become the entity's vessel and proposes transferring the malevolent force back to him. On the day of his execution, Michal visits her father and pleads with him to take the entity with him. Moved by love for his daughter, he agrees. With Ruby's help, they perform the ritual to transfer Dolos into his body. During the execution, the entity briefly takes control of the doctor, administering the lethal injection. Despite this, the injection is successfully administered, and Michal's father dies. But as the film concludes, Michal's expression shifts into an unsettling smile. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you on the next one. Fear awaits you.